Hello guys and welcome to Daddy Share Space. So it's about 5:17. I just recently got home from work today and I decided to turn the cameras on and do this video. So what I want to talk about today is why I actually chose to go with Festool in my shop. So as many of you know, I started off with Ryobi tools, which I have over to my right just out of the shop. And I also have Milwaukee tools, I have Makita, I have even DeWalt tools in my personal home shop. And through my experience, I have basically come all the way back around to the Festool system, and I just want to talk about that a little bit. If you have followed me for any period of time, you would know from earlier, I did a video about my DeWalt track saw and how I bought that track saw because essentially I wanted a track saw, but I also wanted it to be the cheapest one that I could find at that time, and this is discarding brands like Win and all of these other ones. Also, you should know as well that Milwaukee did not have a track saw at this time, and I was very unfamiliar with Makita, to be quite honest. I was familiar with Festool, however, at that season I couldn't really see why I would buy a Festool product over the DeWalt, which I chose. So I bought that DeWalt track saw and I bought all of the rails to go with it. As a matter of fact, in my shop I probably have about 5 DeWalt rails to go with my DeWalt track saw, including the long, I think it's a 102-inch rail. I also proceeded to buy the DeWalt dust extractor that runs on a 60-volt platform, which, you know, in my opinion is pretty cool. You know, it's pretty cool to actually be able to get that dust collection at the tool. So, you know, for the most part, you know, everything seemed to be working out fine. Now, where I ran into trouble when it came to the DeWalt was basically when I decided, as I, you know, got more familiar with my track saw, I got more comfortable with it, I learned that there were lots of tools that can be used with your track saw. Parallel guides and guide rail squares actually take your track saw game to another level. And what I found out at that time was that DeWalt did not have any form of support in this way, whether it be first party with DeWalt or aftermarket when you're talking about TSO products or like benchdogs.co.uk. Now fast forward to now 2024, there are many accessories that are available on benchdogs.co.uk for a variety of track saws, including the DeWalt. But going back in time, when I purchased my DeWalt track saw, all I could get was basically basic track saw features of setting down my track and making a cut. I did not have the option for a guide rail square. I did not have an option for parallel guides. So wanting to save money still, I decided to upgrade to the Makita track saw, which I did do somewhat of an unboxing over a series of videos on that particular saw, and I was happy with that because it gave me the ability to use the TSO parallel guides, and it also gave me the ability to use the TSO branded, I think it's the GSR 16, which I do have in the shop. It looks very similar to this, but it's blue in color like the TSO. And that really improved my performance in the shop, and I was very happy with that upgrade. And once I did that, then of course my eyes turned towards what you see here, and this is the Festool MFT. And this also brings another level to your track saw game. And Makita did not make one. None of the other brands make an MFT such as this. Now, of course, you can go and make your own MFT, but once I decided to go ahead and buckle down and get this Festool MFT, it was at that time that I went ahead and I picked up the Festool KEB track saw here, and I picked them up all at the same time, and that was simply because well, more of, I guess you can say, it was me looking back and reflecting on the fact that I should have never purchased the DeWalt, not that it's a bad saw, and I should have never purchased the Makita, and not because it's a bad saw, simply because had I taken the money that I spent on the DeWalt and or on the Makita, including all the rails, because keep in mind, I bought every rail that's available for the Makita as well. I have the 118-inch rail here in the shop. I have, I think it's the 55-inch, and then there's a shorter rail that I believe that they have. I have all of those. So now I'm out of pocket with the DeWalt system with 5 rails, and then the DeWalt FlexVolt vacuum. And then finally, I also have the Makita rails and such. Rewinding a little bit, when I was trying to build my daughter's dollhouse, which actually was a failed project of mine, I bought a DeWalt router. And that DeWalt router, I don't remember the actual model number on it, but it's somewhere here in the shop. I bought the guide rail attachment that goes with that router, and that really helped me to increase the functionality of the DeWalt. So I will give it to DeWalt in having that particular accessory. However, the 102-inch rail, when I was doing the dollhouse, I wanted to do dados all along the length of a full-size 4x8 sheet of plywood. And the 102-inch rail was just a little bit too short. I couldn't use a guide rail square, which, remember, back in the day, there was no option for the guide rail square because benchdogs.co.uk hadn't created it yet. So I was unable to utilize the guide rail square with the 102-inch rail in order to do a dado the full length of a 4x8 foot sheet of plywood, so that they would all line up. So that basically when I would go back to crosscut, all of my dados would line up for this particular dollhouse build. So what I ended up doing when I did upgrade to the Makita, I did upgrade and I bought a Makita trim router that actually has the plunge base, and I also bought the accessory that goes with that gives you the ability to use it with the guide rail. And that was a very nice upgrade. However, by the time I had purchased that, I think my dollhouse build was actually going into the pot. So it didn't work out as well as I had hoped, but it was still, it was good quality equipment. What I realized is that the more I was using my tools, the more I found a reason to go deeper into the Festool system. I've spoken in a previous video about how my first tool, Festool tool, I bought 2 at the same time, was the Festool Domino DF500, and then also I had bought the Festool CT48 vacuum. So the progression was from the DeWalt system to the Makita system, and then the MFT kind of stuck out almost like a sore thumb. Now I do know I could use, you could use a DeWalt track saw on a Festool rail if you wanted to. You could also use the Makita track saw on a Festool rail. And at that time, I just felt like, well, since I am, going to break down and buy an MFT, I may as well go ahead and pick up the Festool track saw. Now, once I did that, of course I started doing more research and wanting to do specific projects, and of course I learned about the Festool routers and how they work seamlessly with the guide rail system, and how you can use that in conjunction with the MFT. You've got the clamps that go in the MFT. Obviously Festool has their own branded, this is a TSO product that was made and branded by Festool. But they had their own guide rail square. You didn't have to go outside of their system. So as many people will know, once you buy one Festool tool, it's very easy to kind of get sucked in and want to buy other tools that actually fit within that ecosystem. Festool is a brand that I realize has really put a lot of thought into their tools, and I know many people say that over and over and over again. But I'd like to give my own 2 cents on the topic. And I'm going to be pulling in other brands here, not to bash them, but basically to try to share my perspective on why I chose Festool for my particular shop. So if you're familiar with T-Stack. T-Stack is a DeWalt type of storage system, similar to like a Sustainer. There's also a Craftsman brand that they basically use the same type of design. And the thing with the T-Stack, it's great. My actual DeWalt Traxall came in a T-Stack. The vacuum is actually T-Stack compatible, so it all stacks up. They have the little rolling dolly and everything, which is great. They have drawer systems, they have totes, they have tubs. The issue that I found with that is that even though they have that, it's, I wouldn't say it's been abandoned because you can still buy it, but now they have the DeWalt, I think it's called the Tough system. And it's not even the original Tough system, but there's like a 2.0 version, and the compatibility is just not there. I'd also like to go over and touch on the Milwaukee side. You've got the Packout, which is a great storage system. It's very rugged and heavy duty. However, and they added so many tools. They have drawers. They have I have my a Milwaukee ratchet set that fits nicely into a Packout, which I think is amazing, and you know, great quality, and it's a good way to store your tools, if you will. Now, mind you, I don't like the system where you have to basically take, you know, containers off of the other ones to get to your tools, so that's a different topic. But Milwaukee now has drawers, and so you do have that option. So I'm speaking about the past and the present and trying to combine them, so it may be a little bit jumpy, but try to stick with me here. Milwaukee has Packout. They made a Packout vacuum, but then they made the backpack vacuum, which I own, and it's not Packout compatible. They've come out most recently with some new shop vacs that they have, and they're not Packout compatible. So it makes me ask myself, where are we going with this? When you're making these tools, you're making these things, and they don't really go together. They don't stay within that same line. Look at all these Sustainers. All of the tools that I purchased from Festool, aside from like the MFT and the miter saws, they all come in a Sustainer, and they all look uniform. Of course, you can get different colors if you get the special edition, but they all kind of fit seamlessly in a same thing. So like if you have an environment and you want it to look aesthetically pleasing, and you want things to have some degree of symmetry, this is a nice setup. I'm not debating whether Sustainers are better than the Tough system, or better than the Milwaukee Packout system. That's not what I'm actually saying. What I'm saying is, if you look at many Milwaukee tools, many DeWalt tools, they come in a bag. They come in a bag. They don't come in a Sustainer system like this that's consistent across the line, which is excellent for storage of your tools. The other thing is, right here, you've got the table saw that they've come out with, which obviously didn't come out until recently, but they decided to put it in the Sustainer so that it fits nicely in with the system that you already have. You've got a drywall sander, which I don't have here in my shop, but it also fits in a Sustainer that will fit within this system. Going back to the Milwaukee and also the DeWalt at the same time, DeWalt has dust extractors, and Milwaukee has dust extractors of various different kinds, or shop vacs, whatever you want to call them. But only the DeWalt T-Stack, right, works with, you know, the Traxall comes in a T-Stack, and they have drawers and so on and so forth. But a lot of the tools that they have, you know, like I have a worm drive circular saw, it's not going to fit in a T-Stack. Or at least I don't believe it does, because it's too big, but it will fit in the Tough system box. And the Tough system box is not compatible with the T-Stack. So you're gonna have all these different shapes and sizes of storage containers in your shop. So it's not gonna look symmetrical like this. Obviously that's just a visual type of thing, but it goes to a deeper thought of like how somebody, whoever it is, that, you know, started this Festool brand, and who basically iterated on it, they basically thought about, okay, we're gonna make a track saw, we're gonna have a track. Then we're gonna make a table where you can use that track saw on, right? And then we're going to make, a boom arm to go up over the track to hold the cord up off of the work and to hold your vacuum hose up off of the work. Then they went ahead and expanded to, the jigsaw. You can use the jigsaw on your rail. So they put Bluetooth inside of their battery, and that gives them the ability to basically, with all of these tools, they can activate the vacuum by simply pulling the trigger on a drill or a jigsaw or a multi-tool or a table saw or a miter saw. And they also have the feature where you can actually plug in a cord, a power cord, into your dust extractor to get power in that way. The CT48 that I have here in the shop has an upgrade module that you can purchase. It's an added cost to add Bluetooth functionality to that device, so you're not left behind. And going back to the sustainers, look at the sustainers here. These sustainers will stack nicely right on top of my Festool vacuum, and all of the vacuums in the Festool line are like that. There's a degree of symmetry, there's a degree of organization and thoughtfulness that's put into these tools, rather than basically having just, a pack out here, a different type of storage system. They're all under the same brand name, but that are incompatible. And then also coming to market with so many different tools that don't have a storage system that's better than basically a bag, right? Because in my garage shop, I would prefer my shop to look like this than for me to have to, well, there's nothing wrong with building custom storage, because I think it's a great way to learn how to use your tools. However, the problem with that is it's almost like maybe it's added into the cost of the fact that I don't have to think about how this domino is stored neatly, nor the track saw. And these tools are different. They have different shapes. They have different sizes. Looks like one of my lights is giving trouble. But they all fit in a sustainer, which, it's just the uniformity that, I appreciate. You can buy a dolly to move all of these around. You have the workstation that Festool produces that has some sustainer storage on one side. It has like a little MFT bench that can be attached to it, and it doubles as a trolley, so you can drag your tools to and fro. That is kind of going to lead into probably the biggest and main reason, or what I've come around to in regards to my personal Festool journey in regards to my shop. So this is just a garage. It's a 2-car garage with a bit of an extension back on the back side there, so it's larger than a regular garage. And oftentimes, I do my own oil changes, I do my own tune-ups, and sometimes I have to do brake jobs and other things. And so sometimes I'm not allowed to have all my tools out here like this. And as a result, I have to either move things to one side or shift things around, or do a whole bunch of, a bunch of work just to get to working on my vehicle. And sometimes my vehicle may be in the garage for a week or more while I'm working on it, trying to troubleshoot or getting the job done. And one of the key things that I like about the Festool system is that right now I have this MFT, it's on a bench that I built, but it can just as easily lean up against the wall. All of my sustainers, I can put them on the little rolling dollies and roll them up and push them up against the wall and move them about easily and readily. I can, the UG stands, which I plan to get for both my Festool KS20 and the KS60, offer the ability to have a small compact form factor for those. And they also offer, which is, I'm not saying more stable than a home-built miter saw station, but way more flexible. Having the ability with the UG stand with the extensions to be able, I think you can cut up to or support up to 16 feet of work. Now, It may not be the most robust, but it can get the job done for someone like myself who basically is not allowed to basically have a full-on woodworking shop where, you know, I could have my tools set up permanently and basically, you know, never have to move them. When I've seen some amazing miter saw stations built online, very extravagant, very heavy duty, lots of storage, all of these things. That's just not an option for me in this shop, because sometimes I need to use the extended portion of the shop to pull my truck in, and it takes up too much room. And if I put it, like, say, on that back wall, then it limits my cut capacity left to right. And if I build a built-in and put it back there and have my saw there, then I'm automatically limiting my capabilities. Whereas if I purchase the UG stand for both of these saws, both of them sitting on the saw or on the stand will take up way less space than that miter saw. And also the arms come off if you buy the extensions, and you can set them off to the side and pack things away nice and neatly along with this MFT table. Everything can be packed away nice and neatly, and then you can pull it out when you need to use it. My 4-foot by 8-foot MFT table is based off of the Ron Paul design. I almost bought his plans, but as I examined the plans and saw how he does the under part of his table, I wanted to have a little bit more depth so that I could actually take my track saw and set it up under the table after I made a cut. And it's been the most used work surface in my shop by far. However, it is huge and it's in the way all the time. So I think in the future, as my shop evolves, because I don't have a permanent I can't have a permanent setup right now, I feel like the Festool system is going to work better for me, because if I take this table, this MFT table off of here, I can lean it up against the wall. The two UG stands, they actually come with wheels so that you can drag your tool around and move it to wherever you need it in the shop. Right now I just have it on these DeWalt tables. And these DeWalt tables, if I want to move them, it's awkward to lift the whole thing up and move it about, and also, you know, it's just not the most efficient way to store your saws when you basically are always having to kind of play musical chairs in your shop like I have to. It's just part of the situation. I mean, it's something that I just have to accept. I can't get around the fact that, well, a small short side story. I had this bright idea when wintertime came around last year. I took all of my lawn equipment and I packed it up in the very back of my shop, and then I put up one of my mobile storage walls in front of it. And then when summer came back around, or spring, and it was time to do the actual lawn, I had to pull all that stuff out, and I didn't have a storage place for it. So it just basically was all over the floor everywhere, and it made it to where, you know, the shop was a mess. I wasn't able to really do projects like I wanted to, and that's why I did some of my projects outside, because I had my lawn equipment laid all out here, and in my mind it's like I want to make a system that works for the equipment that I have. Now, trying to get back on topic, I spoke about the domino versus the lamello versus the Mafel duodaler, and I stand by what I said by basically saying the Mafel has the cheaper connectors, the lamello has the more versatile knockdown connectors, but I said the Festool domino has the best system. And if I didn't answer the question in that video, I'm going to answer it now. Did I make the best choice in buying the domino first, or period? Yes, I did. Despite what I said about clamps and so on and so forth, the ecosystem that Festool has with the track saw, the domino, the MFT, They have their own assortment of drills with a bunch of with a bunch of tricks up their sleeve. You've got this multi-tool that has a lot of tricks up its sleeve. They think about their tools in a very intricate way. And, you know, yes, some people may feel like they're overpriced, and they may very well be. The problem is, and I'm hoping I'm kind of getting this point across, you can't get the same thing elsewhere. I don't intend to make this video, I'm not trying to make this video longer than it needs to be. I'm just sharing my thoughts. Right here, I have a DeWalt table. It has dog holes in it. It has slots and things in it that essentially you would think it would function very similar to this MFT. However, DeWalt, their business model is not to build out on this table. It's cheaper. The MFT $700. This table, it's now more expensive, but when I bought it on sale. It was like 59 bucks. But let me, you know, take a closer look at this table or explain a little bit. This table, it doesn't have its own clamps that will go into it. Now you can take the regular squeeze clamps and take them apart and put them inside of this thing, you know, into the long slots, but they don't fit in the holes. The holes are 3/4 of an inch. They're not 20 millimeters. But you know what else DeWalt didn't do? They didn't go further and decide, let's make dog holes. Let's make dogs, 3/4 inch dogs, which are definitely not the same as 20 millimeter. Let's make 3/4 inch dogs DeWalt branded for our table so that it can function like an MFT. They didn't have the forethought. They didn't have the forethought to basically say, let's make a rail system for it. Let's make a hinge system so that if a person wanted to pull this little table out and basically do cross cuts similar to the Festool system, let's put a little bit of R&D into that and make our system more connected, more universal. I have the DeWalt flexible table saw back there on its rolling stand, and it's not the same height as this table. So that if I try to use it as an outfeed, it doesn't work seamlessly. I have to build a lot of secondary and tertiary equipment in order to make it work together. Same thing with the flexible miter saw with the rolling station or rolling stand. In one aspect is great as being mobile. It's pretty rugged and robust. But if I want to do repeatable cuts, the UG stand, which is substantially more expensive than a $220 DeWalt stand, it doesn't serve the same purpose. All it is good for, the wings actually have some degree of bow in them if you put material that's too heavy. There's no mechanism to do repeatable stops without making it yourself. The table saw itself, I do like the DeWalt table saw. I do like the stand. I think it's really nice, and I have no complaints about the DeWalt miter saw stand. I just found it to be very limiting when basically I wanted to cut repeatable cuts. Now I have seen designs online where people have made some very nice wings to go on that DeWalt stand, but they're large. They're very big. Let me touch on Milwaukee in that same vein. Milwaukee has a stand for their table saw. It's not as good as the DeWalt. It doesn't have wheels where you can roll it around. It's just a regular basic stand, which doesn't serve a lot of, it's not a great solution. They don't have a rolling miter saw stand to transport those, you know, the 12-inch miter saw around as the DeWalt does. And what I'm trying to get across here is just a difference in philosophy, design philosophy, and functionality. And this is just something, this is just what I have learned in my personal journey. The fact that these things, these sustainers, they make them to where if you stack certain ones in a certain way, it'll be level with this MFT table, right? It'll be level with the workstation apparatus that they sell. It'll be level with the STM 1800, which is a cut station that can fold up and fit up under an MFT that is set up standing on its legs. You could take two MFTs and bind them together, or more if you wanted to, so that you can have a more robust, a longer cutting station. You can get You can put this on the MFT, or, all these different things. They seem to come out at about the same height and work very well within the same system. So I guess what I'm kind of vaguely talking about, or trying to, I'm throwing all these little nuggets out there to say, what I have discovered with the Festool is that, number one, when I bought the Domino, I bought into a system. And even though I tried to go outside of the system to build out a better shop for myself, I kept coming back to the Festool system because, oh, you know what? I kind of want to use the jigsaw. And now that I've used a track saw on a rail, it just seems ingenious for someone who's a novice like myself to be able to get repeatable straight cuts. Well, why wouldn't I just put the jigsaw on the rail too? Why wouldn't I, if I was just cutting across the board, why wouldn't I take the shortest Festool track, set it up there, put the jigsaw on the jig, and just cut across? I mean, sure, I can rough cut it, but I don't have to. I don't have to put that thought into it. Now this is granted, if I have the money to buy the tools, I don't have to put a lot of thought into it. And that's the key. We're not talking about if you don't happen to have the economic, we're not talking about if you don't have the money to buy Festool, then it doesn't make sense. But what I'm saying, as I'm a professional registered nurse, I've been a registered nurse for 20 plus years. Being quite frank, because I have to do my own lawn, because I'm working on my own cars and all these things, I don't have time nor the space to build out some huge extravagant miter saw station. My money would be better spent buying a UG stand that can fold up and go in the corner. Then I can pull out, and if I wanted to, if the car is here in the shop, I can take this MFT table, I can take my Festool Capex on a UG stand right outside and get the same work done with precision and accuracy based upon the equipment that has been designed to do these things. On the flip side, if I'm going to use my Milwaukee, if I'm going to use even Makita, I would say is closer towards the Festool side in this sense. I noticed that they have the vacuum that has the plug-in adapter in the front. They actually have integrated the little Bluetooth chip. Now it's at a premium price. You have to buy the upgraded tool, and then you have to buy two of the chips, one for the dust extractor, one for the tool, which is just an added expense. It's ingenious to put the Bluetooth inside of the battery. That right there, that's ingenious. That is a very good idea that Festool came out with. I mean, Milwaukee, after all these years, finally came out with a track saw, but it doesn't have any way to activate, Bluetooth, unless you could buy some kind of dongle or something like that, a couple things like that to try to make it work. But the dongle is like if you use the AC power. It doesn't. They have a friggin' brand new shop vac that they made, a line of them, like a 9-gallon, I think it's like a 6-gallon, a 9-gallon, and a 12-gallon that you can use interchangeable lids. They even have one that's an AC adapter top, but no Bluetooth to connect to a brand new track saw that you made. And then on top of that, you also put all this money in R&D into the pack out system, and you make that vacuum not compatible. All you have to do is square it up and put a pack out lid on the top and on the bottom. But no, it's just, I don't understand, the lack of an ecosystem, right? They share a battery, meaning the tools, right? And, I've seen people pull out the Milwaukee, whether it be the drawer system, and it's like, oh, I can't put my framing nailer in these drawers. I can't get my, this tool in the drawer, so what's the point? Right? It just seems like it's not, well thought out. And if you, if you're going to design tools, if you're going to make tools, I think, even though, these containers or sustainers are made by Tano or something like that. I think that's the company, and they license them out to all kinds of different companies. Mafel uses them, Lamello uses them. I think this is an excellent way to store your tools. I'm not saying it's the best or the most robust. I'm saying that it's a system that actually works together. And the fact that if I wanted a longer cut station, quite frankly, if I had 2 or 3 of these MFTs lined up, maybe I won't need my big MFT table that I built that takes up all that floor space 100% of the time. Especially if you get the STM 1800, which is something that I'm considering getting because it folds up and goes away. Basically, with the Festool system, I can actually take all of my Festool tools and push them to the side, put them away. It will be nice and neat, contained in their respective sustainers. And I can just do full-on automotive work in here with no problem. And then when I pull my car back out into the driveway, I can open up my MFTs, pull out my Capex with a UG stand, pull out my table saw with the UG stand that comes with it, pull out my tracks, pull out an STM 1800, and have a full mobile workshop within my garage. And the key is the word mobile. Festool is known for mobility, and being a person that has a multi-use garage, I feel like having a mobile solution in your garage is best if you have to work on your car in the garage. That is the conclusion that I came to personally for myself. It is a very, very, very expensive solution. But if I had known better, if I had known about Festool in the beginning, I didn't have to buy all of the Ryobi tools. I didn't have to buy all of the Milwaukee tools. I didn't have to buy the DeWalt tools, because for the things that I want to do in my shop, I could have been served just by focusing in on this one brand, because I simply just want to, make basic cabinets and shelves, maybe a little furniture here and there, and practice and get better at that. And I don't need a lot of the tools that I purchased. Now, of course, Festool, there are exceptions to every rule. I don't regret buying my Milwaukee nail guns. I don't regret having, like, say, random tools, like I have a couple of Ryobi power washers. Obviously, I have my Ego lawn equipment. But there are some tools that I kind of feel like if I had it to do all over again, I would have done it a little bit differently. That FlexVolt dust extractor cost me, I don't know, about $400, somewhere around in there, maybe closer to $5 with the battery. And the actual drywall sander was another, I don't know, $300, 200 and something, or $300. Are they bad tools? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But the reality of the matter is that Festool, that DeWalt dust extractor that I have, it doesn't have the greatest suction. That's number one. It's very compact. I feel like it's a great design as far as aesthetically, because it fits in the T-Stack system. It is battery powered, which is cool as heck, but it doesn't have great suction, and they don't even support it with bags. You can't go anywhere online and find bags for that thing. I resorted to making my own bag out of a cloth and trying to make my own kind of a cyclone type of apparatus, which didn't do very well. I got the idea from someone on YouTube, but it didn't work very well. The suction's not that great by itself. When I added the cyclone type of feature to it, it just, really tanked the suction. So it's not that great, right? But I just see so many missed opportunities where I feel like, is Festool perfect? Do they have it all right? No, I would not say that at all. I just feel like if I'm ranking the systems, I find that Milwaukee has a wide range of tools. DeWalt has a wide range of tools. Ryobi has a wide range of tools. Even Makita has a wide range of tools, but they don't necessarily fit together in a very good ecosystem aside from the battery. I have a Makita drywall cutter, which I really like that tool. I really like it. I actually want to do a comparison between this multi-tool and the Makita drywall cutter to see which one is more efficient and effective at just cutting drywall. Like if you had, like say if you had a hole in the wall and you wanted to cut that section out to be able to replace that area of drywall, which one would be more effective and efficient? Now, if I was in the Festool system and I was totally married to that, then I could use this. And guess what? This works with the dust extractor that I already bought. On the Makita, it doesn't, I don't believe the actual nozzle connects to anything in their lineup, period. People are like 3D printing connectors for vacuums or using Home Depot or Lowe's plumbing equipment. That's not cool. I mean, that's not it. You know, I understand there's more money, premium brand, whatever the case may be. I mean, I don't regret buying this TSO parallel guides or the TSO rail square, but you know what? In the Festool system, I could have got all of that. Everything could have been Festool branded, and I would have been able to get the same job done. I'm not speaking about the exact quality one item to another across all brands. I'm not speaking against, you know, any other company that makes accessories for these brands. I'm simply saying that if I was to decide to pick a brand and what I wanted to do was like say, you know, whether it be make furniture, make cabinets, so on and so forth, this Festool system, for what I'm trying to do and what I'm trying to learn, I think it's the best system for me. Anyways, guys, it's a long-winded video, and I really didn't get to touch on the topics in the deepest way that I would like to, but over time, I will share my thoughts. Whatever I forgot to put in this video, it will come out at some point in time. But I want to thank you guys for taking the time to listen to my rant, and I'll see you in my next video. Take care.